day, everybody. Welcome to NTWC Plus for November the 12th. Good to have you along. I'm Tim, along with Bill, and a whole host of others are going to be with us today, and Alex in the background pushing the buttons as always. It's good to have you along as we get near the end of the 2025 hurricane season, and we're really close. We're just about to get over the hump, and that means we'll take a vacation for 6 months and come back next spring. But in the meantime, a great program for you today. We're going to be talking with the folks from RM Young Company. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's start by thanking our sponsors who make this program a reality each and every week during the hurricane season from beginning to end. They're also part of the National Tropical Weather Conference on South Padre Island every year in April. USAA. USAA has been a proud sponsor of this from the very beginning, and we appreciate everything USAA does. The South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau. Again, that's the host location for the National Tropical Weather Conference. We'll be back there again in April of 2026. Registration is open. We hope you can join us in person. Come down and meet all these folks we have on this program week in and week out in person. The Weather Company, they provide graphics for television stations around the nation. Weather Boy, they have a contest. They send three students from around the nation to the National Tropical Weather Conference. All expenses paid to get to meet all the experts and sit with us at the National Tropical Weather Conference. Finally, LiveView is the company that makes sure that all the broadcast meteorologists who are at the National Tropical Weather Conference can broadcast back to their home markets. So from South Padre Island, they're broadcasting live back to the entire nation, and we appreciate LiveView for making that a possibility. Again, a good show for you this morning. Bill Reed is with us as always. Bill, good morning. It looks like you're back at home base in Southeast Texas. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Everything clear weather. Couldn't see the aurora last night because we're south of Houston. As you know, from coming up here, looking north towards Houston, you see a light gray sky.
No matter what's going on far north. And our guests might have a take on that here in just a minute because they're a little farther north than we are. Bill, right before we started recording, talking about the hurricane season, you said it's time to put a fork in it. Is that something you're ready to say now that we're recording still?
Yeah, but I'll get to that when we do the tropical update.
Okay.
About midway through the show there, I'll have a little bit on what's going on elsewhere also. Not much.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
All right. Well, let's get to it then. You can introduce our guest and we'll get started. Bill, take it away.
Okay. Well, we have a different kind of show today. We're going to talk about all things instrumentation. We use the data all the time and pretty much just assume that it's working fine. But these gentlemen make the kind of equipment that you want to have if you're really trying to do your best you can on your weather. We have three folks from the RM Young Company. Eric Mannix, the president and CFO. Eric brings 2 decades of leadership experience across industrial and technology sectors. We have Andy Oliver, who's director of product and application management with the company. Andy Oliver leads product development and application strategy at RM Young, combining over a decade of company experience with a strong background in engineering, innovation, and sales. Then we have Ed DiFilippo, vice president of sales. Ed brings more than 20 years of sales leadership experience to RM Young, where he drives strategic growth and customer success. Both Eric and Andy are up in Traverse City, Michigan, while Ed is coming to us from Cape Cod. So I don't know who wants to start us off here, but perhaps a description of your company and what all you do would be in order to start it off, and then we'll take it from there with questions.
Sure, I can start it off. So, so RM Young Company is been a leader in the meteorological sensor space for scientists and professionals alike for over 60 years. It was started by Bob Young in 1964 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And in 1971 decided to move the company up north to Traverse City. So those of you not familiar with Traverse City, we do get a glimpse of the aurora on a semi-regular basis. So we are in kind of like the top northwest corner of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. Lots of dark skies, really close to Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore, which I believe is a a dark sky sanctuary. Moved up here in 1971, and really the company has been a leader in meteorological sensors and wind measurement in particular in the early days. And really, we pride ourselves on having the most robust products in the market. So for hurricanes, tornadoes, storm chasers, we really pride ourselves on being the product of choice.
That's fascinating. So I would guess that sort of leads to what would you call your core mission today? To where the company's.
Yeah, so it's funny you ask. So we just refreshed our strategic plan. And so we spent a couple of days offsite and really kind of talked about, what do we're kind of at an inflection point. So the company was family owned for those 60 years. And Tom Young, who was Bob's son, decided to move on to a retirement phase of his career. Still on the board, still very much presence at the company. He's here probably at least bi-weekly. But we decided to make sure that we go through and do a strategic planning session, and we really wanted to make sure that we were keeping that family-owned legacy. It's something that I think is relatively hard to do if you don't really make an emphasis to keep it there. So what's our mission? We partner to build trusted solutions that transform environmental measurement into knowledge. We tried to keep that simple and clean, and I think that really made sure that it connected with why the company was started in the first place.
Fascinating. What would you say is the your say targeted customer for the quality of instruments that you produce?
Ed, do you want to jump in and take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we really kind of have like a diverse kind of audience, and you can kind of segment it over six, really core markets, if you will. And whether it's, alpine, marine customers, renewable, agriculture, defense, and transportation, right? So obviously they need very rugged instrumentation. And an example of an application is we're on top of Mount Everest, right? So that kind of speaks volumes to itself and how to be, rugged and durable.
That's pretty amazing. Well, that channeled me in a whole different direction now. For a remote location like that, what is the what's the power source and communication modules you have to use when you do a harsh remote environment like that with the instruments?
Yep.
Yeah, so that particular station was a partnership between a data logger manufacturer and a couple of climatologists. It was sponsored by Rolex. And so we were just kind of a small part of that station. So we provided the wind monitor. And so the communication was done through, I believe, satellite. And the data is available online. And they've been installed now for, I believe, 5 years.
Okay, very good. Do you have a lot of your wind instruments on commercial shipping?
Yeah, that's a huge market for us. That's part of our marine market, typically used for navigation. We also produce displays that would be mounted in the bridge, which would show instantaneous wind speed and direction relative to the bow. And then the device can also output wind data to other devices aboard the vessel.
Yeah, I've actually, I'll bet it was your equipment. I was on a cruise about a year ago where I was invited to spend some time up in the navigation room, and it's exactly what you described, the relative to the bow wind in there, and it was pretty impressive. How do you design sensors to perform well for a long period of time in a marine environment where you have a lot of salt in the air and whatnot?
Yeah, it's just material selection, so UV resistant plastics, marine grade aluminum. We've experimented and switched to different materials for the propeller. We use polycarb on the propeller now. Years ago, we switched to ceramic bearings, which are more wear resistant and corrosion resistant, so they're ideal for the marine environment. And just the way the circuit board is protected in a potted mounting post assembly, it just makes for a nice sealed assembly to kind of keep out the salt air and prevent corrosion.
Great, great. So I forgot how I was going to word this thing. So the onboard maintenance. So you have your instrument on the ship. Do you guys provide recurring maintenance on it, or is that something that the ship's crew are trained at as part of the package?
Yeah, so the beauty of the wind monitor is that it's easily serviced in the field. The first component that would need to be serviced would be the propeller shaft bearings. And, with ceramic bearings, those can go five to 10 years, kind of depending on the environment. We provide tools that allow the customer to gauge whether or not the bearings need to be replaced with little torque gauges. But the procedure to replace those bearings takes about 5 minutes. The bearings cost, $20 each. It's pretty simple. The vertical shaft bearings, they don't see near the duty cycle as the propeller shaft bearings. It's a little bit more involved to replace those, but really, it doesn't take a skilled electrician or an electronics technician to replace those bearings.
Wow, that's a long way from 40 years ago when I was in the Navy.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'd like to jump in on this one as well, because I think this is one of the So I've been with the company just over a year, and one of the things that I was really impressed by was the foresight that that Bob and Tom and his son Mike had for their product design. Right, they wanted to design a product that could be serviced by the customer. They knew how important it was to have the continuity of data, right? And so they didn't want, I think a lot of companies probably value from a profitability standpoint the service end of their business. And I just thought it was really, really unique, and I thought a really good decision to design with the maintenance in mind. And so, there's some instruments that we make where that's, a lot harder or sometimes not possible from a calibration standpoint. But where at all possible, that's really at the heart of the design is that the customer is able to do the maintenance to ensure as small interruption to data as possible.
Yeah, and to take that a step further, we also provide calibration accessories that allow the user to verify that the sensor is operating within specifications. So we have an anemometer drive that couples to the propeller shaft that will rotate. Basically, it's a variable frequency drive motor. So it'll rotate the propeller shaft at a known RPM. You measure the output, and you can measure it at different speeds and just confirm whether or not it's still within spec. And then we have another fixture that allows you to verify wind direction as well.
Excellent. On the data side of it, I assume you can get any range of wind measurement you want. We always, in our profession, there's a never-ending debate about what wind we should be using. Is it the 3-second wind like engineers use for building design? Is it a 1 minute sustained? Australians and a lot of other basins use a 10-minute average wind for an intensity of the hurricane. Is that a fairly easy to derive from the data you're getting from the wind sensor?
Yeah, so our focus are on the sensors themselves. And so our major customers, they produce data loggers and complete systems. So what they do is they integrate our sensors into a complete system, and then they program the logger to, calculate 10-minute average or 3-second gusts. So, all our instruments are able to produce that type of data. It just depends on the programming of the logger.
Right. Can you share any experiences you've had with a direct hit on one of your instruments in a major hurricane?
There's definitely stories out there. I can't give you specifics, but typically what happens is, you're getting data, the wind is increasing, and then all of a sudden it's gone, right? And then what happens is the sensor doesn't fail, the mast gets blown over, or a flying object hits the sensor and it just explodes, right? I mean, the propeller at those high wind speeds, it's rotating at probably 12,000 RPM. And, you've got a piece of debris flying through the air. And if it hits the propeller, it's done. But I believe we've measured speeds as high as 160 miles per hour in hurricane.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's it's always frustrating for us. We're trying to put together a detailed report on the storm, and we put a map up of the winds, and there's all these wind measurements except this one spot where there's none, and it's where we've lost all the gauges. A lot of our automated stations, I don't believe they have your sensors, the ASOSs we have out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your knowledge on that?
It's hard to track where they're installed. I mean, our sensors are on every continent, every ocean. Sometimes we don't, our customers put together the systems and we don't always know where they end up.
It could be. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to add to that, it's usually a good conversation starter with people, right? So for listeners, is chances are you probably have already seen one and didn't even realize it, and when I'm explaining it to people, I said, you can look along the highway, and it's like once you start seeing them, you can't not see them. And we have this kind of running game internally, usually on the weekends. We're exchanging text messages with images of our wind monitors in places that we didn't realize they were at, like on a soccer field, for example. So to Andy's point, we don't necessarily know specifically where they are, but once you start seeing them, you can't not see them.
That's funny you say. I pulled it up on your website for just that reason. Now I've seen one of those. I'll notice it now when I'm at airports and whatnot as to what kind of whether it's your sensor or not. I want to shift gears a little bit. I also saw on your site there the rain gauges, and I got fascinated with one that has no moving parts or no weighing sensor. How does it work?
So that sensor is a siphoning rain gauge. It uses a capacitor. It's installed right in the center of that tube. And as the rain collects and the water level fills, it outputs, the circuitry converts that to a voltage output. So 0 to 5 volts equals 0 to 50 millimeters of rainfall. And so that particular sensor is ideal for moving platforms, buoys, anything that would rock, because it won't affect the measurement. Whereas a tipping bucket rain gauge, you would get false tips if you had that rocking motion.
Right. Very interesting. Now I know. Tim, you look like you're just chomping at the bit to ask a question there.
I have some thoughts. I just want to know how digital technology and AI is impacting what y'all are doing, and if it is playing a role in what you're designing and what's going out now and in the near future.
Yeah, so most of our sensors are available with either analog output or digital. So we have a lot of different formats and protocols are available. And so, that's definitely an area we're kind of focused on for the future, like the Internet of Things. And so as we move forward, we hope to kind of get more involved in that area.
Yeah.
Assuming most of you, don't go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna jump in really quickly. We're starting to have conversations with companies that are in that kind of AI space, and really the models are only good as the data you feed them. And so what they're looking for from us is to be able to use our sensors in areas where you have dead spots. Right. So snow science is an area that we're really excited about. And being in South Texas and Miami is probably not on the radar, but out west, snow science is really, really important because the water coming from the snowpack is utilized by agriculture, by people themselves for their drinking water. And so it's really, really important. And so, making that connection back to the AI, they're trying to build these models that can start to be smarter at calculating what is available. And there's lots and lots of dead spots. So we're starting to talk with them about how do we fill those gaps. Right. So what data are you looking for, and how many places are required in the network to actually be able to build a valid data set? Early innings, for sure, in this space, because it seems like AI is changing, every 15, 20 minutes. And so, we're trying to make sure that we're at least touching that industry to make sure that we're on the leading edge of it.
Assuming that most of your clients are private clients, people that buy the instrumentation, but is there any of the data that comes in from these publicly available anywhere? Is there a network of products that anybody can go online and say, I want to see what's going on here, there, or anywhere?
Andy, what are maybe some of the examples? The one that comes to my mind is the Missouri River Basin type applications.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of state mesonettes that use our instruments. There's some commercial companies that sell subscriptions for like windsurfers and sports applications. And so even like NOAA has websites where you can access data. We're pretty much on all the buoys around the U.S. coastlines and in the Great Lakes, and those buoys are collecting data, and that data is available to the public.
So those are mostly government a lot of the government agencies that buy the product.
Yeah, government and commercial private use as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the mesonets you mentioned, usually if you click on the site, you can get the data on what the sensors are that are recording the data. That'd be one way to find out
right.
what you have.
Yeah, our wind sensors are used in most of the state mesonets. The wind monitor is very popular.
You mentioned Mount Everest. Are there other extreme places like that where you get instrumentation set up?
Yeah, like Mount Washington is another kind of extreme weather location. I mean, they get some crazy wind, rime icing. We've collaborated with them for 20 plus years. Really, when we develop a new sensor and we want to test it, they're always happy to mount it on the mountain and see what happens. But they use our Alpine Wind Monitor to collect wind data on top of the mountain, and they just get some crazy, crazy weather.
What kind of extremes do you see on things like that? What are some of the extremes you've seen?
So, I mean, the wind speeds, they get in excess of 100 miles per hour kind of on a regular basis. But it's the rime icing that can be really kind of a pain in our side, because the ice forms quickly. And but the beauty of the Alpine Wind Monitor is so it has an ice phobic coating that's designed to shed snow and ice. Now, it's not 100% solution. So in like an extreme rime icing event, you still get some ice formation, but over time, it's going to recover quicker than like a heated ultrasonic anemometer.
Which takes me to the next question. What are some of the challenges in developing these things for these extreme climates? There must be some significant challenges involved.
Just material selection, like for the mechanical wind sensor, obviously we have moving parts, and in extreme high wind events, you're always gonna have flying debris. And so we're always trying to come out with materials that are more impact resistant. And that's kind of, I think I mentioned earlier, we launched a version of our propeller that's produced out of polycarb, which is more impact resistant.
Interesting, fascinating stuff. I want to keep this going, Bill. Let's take our mid-show break and let you give us a tropical update. We've allotted 20 minutes for the tropical update. Bill, is that enough time you think for today?
If I talk real slow.
Bring us up to speed.
Actually, I'm so intrigued by this, I thought I'd pull up Mount Washington to show you how well your sensor was working there. They went over 100 for a couple hours overnight last night with the big cyclone that gave you your lake effect snow thing. And I follow this all the time because I was born in New England and been to Mount Washington. I'm amazed at the winds they get there. And I'm also amazed at how well the sensors survive up there. There's very little downtime when I'm monitoring, even in really wicked storms. So congratulations. That's pretty cool. Anyway, back to what Tim wants me to talk about. Get this out of my way here. There we go. Broad view of the Eastern Pacific and all of the Atlantic Basin. We're rapidly entering the winter season. The westerlies are well south. That's why we've got this big strong front all the way down into the Northwest Caribbean. Big cutoff low off of Europe. Westerlies aloft over there in dry air. You don't see much of anything. Late November, about the only incubation ground for tropical cyclones is the Northwest and Southwest Caribbean. There's thunderstorms there, but nothing organized, and nothing expected. Obviously, on that Eastern Pacific, their season's essentially done. I'm ready to stick a fork in it. The only caveat is some years we have a brief period where we get the cutting off lows and whatnot, and can actually see a hybrid or subtropical like system, but I don't see anything going on, and I will show that information as we go along here. This is what we always like to see living along the Gulf Coast. There is one storm in the entire globe right now. It's the dying end of Fenghuang over here in Taiwan. Now it's dying. I don't think they'll get but one or two more tropical advisories. It's sheared off. There's the low center down here on the East Coast with the convection that's dying on the west end. Probably some locally heavy rain in there, but it's not expected to be much of anything as it approaches the areas of Okinawa and the islands, the smaller islands east of Taiwan that are used to much stronger systems than this. Speaking of AI, this is Google DeepMind's AI model forecast out for a week now, showing nothing in the Atlantic Basin, nothing in the Pacific, maybe some hint off of Australia and maybe some hint off of there. But again, when it's that far out in time, maybe we'll change our mind as we verify what happens with Google Mind. But obviously, the action is shifted over to the Indian Ocean, Western Pacific in the near term. The Climate Prediction Center puts out a 2 or 3 week thing. Nothing in our area other than continuation of the end of the rainy season down here, Central America, southern Mexico. Highlights the areas that were showing up on the DeepMind outlook for the Indian Ocean and Western Pacific. But after that, it shows week 3 of as we exit our hurricane season of quiet. So what the heck, Tim? Let's stick a fork in it.
So there it is. There it is, officially proclaimed. Oh, that's good, Bill. Thank you. And you did that in way less than 20 minutes. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you noticed when the signal stops for a second, when you come back, it sounds like you're talking really fast to get it caught up, and that's just the signal catching up. So we appreciate that. Good job, Bill. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's also thank our sponsors halfway through the program here that make this show possibility week in and week out. USAA, the South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Weather Company, Weather Boy, and Live View. They're all folks that make it so we can do these shows every day, every week rather, throughout the hurricane season, and every once in a while during the off season. If something comes up, we'll pop up and visit with you about that. Okay, let me ask whoever, this thing over my shoulder here, that's showing a barometric pressure of 911.2. That was Jim Ed's in the Bahamas during Dorian. Do you guys have anything like that, a portable sensor that you can take with you and go into the middle of a storm and just say, look, here it is right here?
We do not have any like handheld sensors. All our sensors are designed to be installed like on a station.
More permanent mount than that.
Permanent, correct? Yeah,
that's interesting. So, have you done collaborations with organizations? You know, we talk about, you know, the river authorities and things like that. What kind of collaborations have you done over the years with companies, organizations to get weather instruments in places that we may not otherwise see them?
Well, it all started with the National Data Buoy Center. Actually, back in the early 80s, Bob Young was awarded a contract with them to develop a wind sensor that could be deployed on buoys and that could withstand the harsh marine environment. And that's how the wind monitor was born, through a collaboration with the National Data Buoy Center. And then that's become pretty much our flagship product. And the company was really built around the wind monitor. You know, other organizations would be Mount Washington, you know, a lot of the state mesonettes we've worked with, to name a few.
Yeah, probably another one, I think, more recent, and I wish we would have reached out to get permission to use their name, but you know, really focused on you know, utility companies and forest fire prevention. This is a major issue. Obviously, everybody's seen it on the news, especially out west, but we're seeing it even more and more in the east as well. And so, you know, we've kind of collaborated with them to design their sensor profile so that it's giving their customers exactly what they need, not more than they need, and to really kind of combat, or, you know, combat is probably the wrong term, but try to give utility companies the best information possible. You know, if there's going to be a major concern, that they're able to preemptively shut the power off. So, you know, that's one that I would say is more recent. You know, more along the lines of solution creation versus new product development. But I do also want to mention that, you know, the company is investing in our engineering resources as well. New product development is going to be one of our one of our focus areas over the next 5 to 10 years. And so, you know, we're always open. We never pretend to be the smartest people in the room. We look to the market and our partners to collaborate on, you know, where is there a gap? You know, where is there a major need where a sensor is either not available or one that, you know, maybe isn't able to withstand the conditions. So, yeah, I would say that's kind of more on the current and future as well.
Seems like we're already measuring everything. It's just a matter of measuring it better.
And you're probably there. And then there's, you know, I think, you know, as I learn more about snow science, it looks like there might be some kind of novel ideas that are available there. But yeah, I would say generally, you're probably spot on.
Bill, jump back in.
Yeah, pitch this back to Ed on the sales part. What's your process to get the word out on what your company does?
Yeah. So
potentially,
fortunately, since we've been around for 60 years, the word's already on the street, right? So as I think Andy touched on, our legacy product is the wind monitor, right? So really from where I sit, to me, it's extremely important now that we're proactively engaging with our customers, right? So we want to get a deeper understanding on how they're using our solutions. And then kind of what Eric touched on, what do they need to be successful into the future, right? Is it build it better, or is there possibly another type of measurement, or is there a way that you want to get the data that's not doesn't exist today? So really to get the word out, we are physically going to see customers, and not just in the U.S. but globally. So now we have employees for the first time ever in Asia Pacific as well as Europe. So this way we're closer to the market, and certainly closer to the customers. And we realize, with time zones and whatnot, it can be challenging for customers, if they want to engage with us. So now we want to make sure that we can certainly, respond within the same working day.
Yeah, and just to kind of give everybody an understanding of the breadth of the business, in any given year, we've got about 1,400 active customers. If you kind of widen that to 3 years, because we do get involved with a lot of projects, right? Projects that aren't going to be an annual buy. It's something large. Maybe it's part of a government grant. If you kind of expand that to like 3 years, you're talking about somewhere in the range of about 4,000 to 5,000 active customers. And I actually pulled this stat the other day: 143 countries. So we are truly, while the business sits in a smallish city in northern Michigan, we really are a partner across the world. And Andy, I think, puts it best: we're on every continent, on every ocean. We are at the highest weather stations in the world, and we're also at sea level. So we try to cover it all.
So what's your bread and butter? What's the, we've all got a product this is the one, we got all this fringe stuff, but what's the bread and butter?
The bread and butter is the mechanical wind monitor. That is I had a customer walk by, to put it in context, I had a customer walk by me at a trade show in Europe, and just walked by. I was engaged with somebody else, and just yell out, "Oh, there it is, the workhorse of the industry," and just kept walking. So, Andy kind of told the legacy story with NOAA and how it came to be, but that is truly like what we've been known for, and to this day.
So we've kind of focused on the wind monitor, and that's what we're most well known for. But we also produce temperature, relative humidity, pressure sensors, precipitation gauge we talked about, visibility sensors, snow depth sensors. So we pretty much cover really all the major meteorological parameters.
When you were working the project with the Data Buoy Center, did you happen to work on the wave height indicator challenges?
Well, that was way before my time. That was
shows how old I am. I remember that.
Bob Young back in the early 80s. I was still in high school, so.
Okay, yeah, that as a marine forecaster back in the 70s, that was always. They really wanted to. Yeah, it's great. You got the wind, you got the pressures, but how high are the waves for a lot of marine applications? Another area that we see in the hurricane business a gap and a need for is, and it's not so much permanent locations, but deployable or indicators for storm surge, tide heights. We still basically go in and do surveying after the fact for high water marks is our primary method of coming up with it. And the modeling is getting so that more data that's calibrated, consistent would probably be a big plus for the modeling and future AI applications of surge.
Interesting. I wrote that down. But we're actually collaborating right now with a company that they're interested in our stow depth sensor, but they're also interested in detecting whether or not there's flooding. That's not what the product was designed for, but we are optimistic that we can make sure that it can take that measurement at the same reliability that we feel comfortable with on all of our sensors. So it's something that we're working on, and I obviously could see where that could be a distinct application for storm surge as well, because the the stow depth sensor can go, in the 8 to 9 meter range. So that's should be decently high enough to at least, I used to work in Houston, and so I've driven through the highways and seen the tick marks on the pillars, so that you can know whether it's 15 feet storm surge or even higher. So that's something that hopefully we could.
Yeah, well, certainly if you can get to 7 to 9 meters, you've covered the range of possibilities here.
Correct.
Maybe in Mississippi, Josh Morgerman's house could see higher than that.
Yeah.
He didn't really believe me on that, by the way. I'm surprised. They've not seen their worst yet.
But talking about the flooding, you talk about instrumentation and flooding. We talk about the Texas Hill Country floods from last spring, and the lack of warning on that. It seems like there's instrumentation available, or is there instrumentation becoming available that can better monitor river flooding of that sort, rapid rises, flash floods that can help get warning downstream to folks? I mean, is that part of where we're headed?
Yeah, I think that's obviously that got a lot of press, and rightfully so. I think that's so we've got our new product development roadmap. I won't confirm or deny where that is on the list, but it's definitely on the list.
So where are we headed? I mean, we've talked a little bit about AI and digital technology and things like that, but in general, where are we headed with what you guys are developing, and without revealing your trade secrets, of course, but where are we headed?
Sure. So I think we all have to be realistic, right? And I think, again, you said it right. Like, the industry is very mature. There's probably, from an innovation curve, we're really kind of, in the spot where novel sensors and novel inventions are probably going to be a trickle versus AI, for example. But there's interesting things that are happening, and I know I kind of keep going back to snow science, but it's something that's I would say less mature. There was a collaboration between India and the United States on, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's called the NISAR satellite. And essentially, they basically launched a satellite in order to detect changes in the level of the Earth, right? So now think volcanoes and earthquakes. So you can take very, very large data sets, right? Using this technology to detect movements over very large areas. There's more applications for that, because really all you're thinking about is the change in the Earth. Has it gone up or has it gone down, right? Well, you can apply that to snow as well. And so, now, again, kind of getting back to what I was talking about earlier, is where I think we can really play a part is filling in the gaps. Because when you're taking imagery from a satellite, well, it sounds like, oh man, you'll be able to cover this, this incredibly vast area. The resolution in which you're doing it is a different conversation, right? And so ground truthing is something that is, in my mind, going to be extremely important. And I think that is you can apply that to other industries or applications as well. So, yes, metadata, AI, you're trying to gather as much information as you can. And I think you still have to basically bounce that off of something in order to make sure it's number one, correct. But number two, that those models are getting better and better. So, so if you kind of round that story back into RM Young, where I see us playing a part is in that ground truthing across many, many different industries.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Bill, we're getting close to the end of the program. If you've got a couple more questions, throw them in there, and then we'll get your final thoughts.
Yeah, what we probably should ask at the beginning on that, the scale of your company. How many employees do you have?
So we do all that with actually a very lean team. So with the additions that we've made, we're up to 41.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, over the years, Andy, who's with us, was the lone salesperson. He was the sales team. And obviously, with the name and recognition of the company, we've got so many customers, he obviously did a bang up job. But what we're really looking to do now and into the future is to kind of build out that sales team. That's where we've brought Ed in. Andy actually prefers having conversations just like this, right, on the product applications and management side. He's got the engineering background to where, he's got the customer connections where he gets that voice of customer. Ed and his sales team is out there getting the voice of the customer, but Andy also has the ability to bridge the engineering side of it to say, okay, what are we building? Is it technically excellent, which is, the standard that we want to uphold ourselves to, but is it also market relevant? And so combining that engineering and sales has been a really huge help for us as a company, and as we kind of look at our strategic vision and where we want to go.
Makes sense. I think just from data I look at, I would think the biggest growth is the international side, because there's huge gaps in some of the countries that experience extreme weather that would probably benefit from this.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and Ed can jump in here too. And I think this is, we agree, obviously. And so we have a distributor network that covers a lot of our international locations, but making sure that there was an RM Young employee that can go and support those distribution partners, because that's the way we look at them. We look at them as true extensions of our business. And so having people in these regions where they can get out to them much faster than we can from Traverse City, and much more often, because extracting that voice of customer is going to answer some of the questions that you guys have pushed to us, is what's next? Well, I think what's next is going to come from those customers.
Well, the beauty of having people out there is they probably also can relate much quicker to the cultural differences.
Correct.
That come about in this kind of work. Very cool.
And just to add something very unique about that, and one of the things I find I'm very fond of with this company is, so we've had distribution relationships with certain distributors internationally for decades, 30 years plus, to the point where they've become personal friends with our founders. And that is something that our new management team is looking to preserve and cultivate. And I think that's really one of the things that makes RM Young neat is we when we say partnership, it's really, not to sound corny, but it really almost becomes like an extension of family in a way. When you have a distributor internationally in Asia who comes and can cook breakfast for the founder at his home, that says something about what they've built here, and that legacy we hope will live on.
So give us your best pitch. What's if people want to find more information about what's going on at RM Young, they want to learn about your instrumentation more than what we've talked about today, they want to see it, they want to buy it, what do they do?
Yeah, the best place is certainly to check us out at our website, youngusa.com. And then we are on social media. We are very active there. LinkedIn would be the place to start for sure. And we keep both places up to date with upcoming events, webinars, or anything new and fun. And one other thing to add to is because we have such a wealth of history, and we get photos from customers. We have decades of photos of customers hanging on our walls internally. We like to have kind of like a throwback, fun, day where we post this on social media. So certainly you can see some very unique applications that we've been part of and that we've even talked about today on LinkedIn. So definitely check those out.
That'll be fun to see. Great stuff. Anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up? Andy, where are we going? What's next?
Well, we're working on a few projects internally. It's the focus the last year and a half has been sales and marketing, but we're actually we've hired some bodies in engineering, and I'm excited to push some projects through and introduce some new products.
True. And Ed, you're ready to go sell those products, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we're beating down the door.
And Eric, next time I ride my bike through Traverse City, can I meet you at maybe North Peak and grab a cold one as we go through town?
You will get no argument from me on going out and grabbing a bike ride.
That sounds great. Bill, final thoughts.
This has been fascinating. I learned an awful lot today, and now I kind of think I want to go back up on Mount Washington and take a picture of that wind instrument. But it'll be in the
We'll
summer.
post it if you do. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, terrific. Gentlemen, thank you. It's been a fun program today. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us in the NTWC Plus audience, because there's a lot to learn and so much going on behind the scenes that none of us really think about, and you're helping us with that. So we really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys inviting us. We had a blast.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's thank our sponsors. Make the program a reality week in and week out. USAA, the South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Weather Company, Weather Boy, and LiveView. We're here because they make it possible for us to be here. Next week, Jake Sorber from IBHS, Research Project Scientist and Engineer, will be with us. We encourage you to join us for that. In the meantime, hope you have a great week. Get out and see the Northern Lights, unless you're in South Texas like I am, and we'll just see the nice sunset instead. Take care. See you next week.